Hello, hello. I'm so excited to introduce this week for Spiritual Grief 4. We are talking all things, and I'm going to use the title because I love it, Reincarnation, Past Lives and Our Fathers. And I'm joined with Eimear, who is actually one of my earth angels, which I will talk about in a minute, because I was also an earth angel for my dad. And I feel like the earth angel witch role is very important, but also who I feel is a very inspiring, beautiful earth witch. And I'm so glad we've connected. So, Eimear, hello.
Hi, and I feel the same about you.
Yeah.
Soul sister.
Yes, soul sister entirely. And I'll jump in there because of the witches and our fathers. Certainly yours, I feel, were at work from the moment I met you. And for anyone, I've spoken about this before, but I think it's a beautiful story because I was going through a big breakdown of like theatres were closing. I felt like nobody really cared about the witches like I did. And I was in the room I'm in today on my sofa, like crying, going, my theatre's never going to work. No one cares about witches. And then I typed in healing the witch wound and found you. And then we connected. But interestingly, the first time we had a chat, your dad came through. And I thought about this morning, that it was literally the first time we chatted. We chatted about witches, we chatted about past lives, and we talked about your dad. He came through. Yeah.
I wish we had recorded that conversation.
I so wish we'd have recorded that. I think we should record every conversation we have, because the reason I love doing this with you is because I think they're so juicy and interesting, because I feel like we're both very up for where the witches and our dads are willing us to go. And I think that's really important. So I want you just to tell me a little bit about your dad. I'm very interested to know a little bit about Irish grief, because I think it's quite beautiful. And also, I absolutely adore your resurrection story and couldn't hear it enough.
Love it. Well, I love what you called this conversation as part of your series, because I was raised Catholic and I still feel, with the parts that I still sometimes connect with, the Our Father is my father's prayer. Our Father who art in heaven. So wherever he is in the spirit world and here today, his name is Art.
I mean, I'm just having a thing, because obviously that's how, well, not obviously for people that don't know, but my play AWAKEN starts with Alpha. It starts with the prayer, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. That's the first line of the play. Woo! Witchy downloads. Yeah.
So that's always his prayer, and I've got his picture here, and he's smiling away over behind the laptop, guiding this conversation. And that's really him. He was a very intelligent man, very humble and so quick-witted, always with a story, with a joke and a punchline, but in a very nice way. Like he wouldn't put people down or anything. I know him as being very spiritual and very holy. And he had these rituals that he would do, kneel down by the bed at night and say his prayers. It was one thing, but he would never force that on the rest of us. It was like, this is what I do as part of my work. And I always wonder what prayers, maybe it was the Our Father he was saying, but it was always like, hands down, kneel down by the bed, by his bed. And
how did you know that? Is it something you were told or something you witnessed?
Well, I witnessed. Yeah, wow. I just remember him always doing it.
Wow.
That he'd do that. Maybe we did, me and my siblings, but I don't remember doing that. But it was just something. He went to boarding school when he was 13, and I feel it was an all boys Catholic boarding school in Fermoy on this hill. It's like this foreboding building, and he had so many funny stories from there. But I feel a lot of his rituals were part of what he learnt there, such as polishing his shoes every night. He had the shiniest shoes in Ireland. And then saying the prayers too. It was just these little acts of reverence that he would bring throughout his day. So that's how I remember him, with a lot of fun and smiling and smoking he liked cigars, Hamlet cigars. Hamlet, that's funny. And he'd send us up to the shops to get his stash of cigars that we'd be given as children.
It's so not good. It's so strange, because I just feel like I should premise this by talking that your father passed away how many years ago?
29 years. So in 1994, February, 24th of February, 1994.
Yeah, February, the month, which we spoke about, because my father passed this year in February the 8th. And so I feel like the moment I connected with you, I also connected with your father, which happens to me a lot when I connect with people that I'm meant to be. I feel like they often, I do work partially as a medium, and the spirit will like bring me in there, and I'll be like, oh, there's something else going on here, and that happens a lot. And that happened with your dad, and then later he came through a lot more. But as you're speaking about what he was like, I remember just thinking he's really dapper, and I'd not seen him at all at that point. And so when I came to visit you and I saw a picture of him, and I saw it was like, oh wow. And he'd said to me, you'll get confirmation when you go of what I was like, because I'd never seen anything of him. And it was just like this kind of old style sophistication. And he'd sit there crossing his legs, and I think he was sitting there smoking a cigar, and it was very that's how he was showing himself to me. So it's really lovely to hear you talk about him.
Yeah, and he had sometimes when he was younger, he'd wear a hat, and is it Ben Cosby or one of those really old musicians and singers that he would kind of connect with in that kind of way.
And then so you were with him. Were you with him when he passed you?
Yes.
Quite a few of you were as your family, weren't
you? The whole lot of us. This is part of the beginnings of our death rituals.
Yeah. Everyone should be there
how many people can you cram into the room?
Right.
Well, that was in my dad's case. But because he had cancer, it had come back. So one of the blessings was we knew this was going to happen, so we could begin to prepare as best you can. I was 19. And we were all in the hospital, and the hospital was called Mount Carmel, which feels significant in some way to his story and my story. And we were all there, all of us. We were rounded up pre-mobile phone times. My neighbour came to get me from university. I was just about to go into a lecture, and she came and was like, come on, your father's not well. And I just knew. And she kept saying in the car, he's really not well. Like, I don't know if she said he's going to die, but it was like almost, this calm knowing came over me. Like, I know what's going to happen, and I don't know how or why, but I felt immensely calm as she drove and kept saying it, and almost like, you don't need to tell me, I know what's going to happen, even though my mind didn't know. So we all arrived in time. It's amazing how this happens. And his brothers and sisters, or as many of them as could make it, my mum's family, neighbours, came to the hospital with sandwiches wrapped in tinfoil, trying to make us eat all these things. And my cousin, who's a priest. So we were all there, and I wasn't right by his bed. I was back, and I remember being by a window. But it's interesting because this was February time, and he died around 8:30 at night. So it would have been dark outside. But in my memory, when I connect with that moment, when he just took his last breath, and that was it. This final exhale that completed his cycle of life. And I remember, when I think of it, there's light, and I'm pointing here like as bright as this window, and it was one of those little top windows in a hospital. I see light, but there couldn't have been light because it was dark outside at that time in February.
Yeah.
So, and it felt like it was like, ooh, you know, when I remember it now, like, wow. And this silence came over me, and then people started crying in the room, and my cousin started saying the rosary, which is a real ritual to honor the dead and the living, and is such a ritualistic. So the rosary is this, it's a Catholic prayer, but I've since found it's way more ancient than that, and it's connected to Mother Mary, the Marys, and it starts with the Our Father.
Okay.
And then you say 10 Hail Marys.
Right.
And there's, you can say, it goes on forever, but you can say like 5 decades of the rosary. So the Hail Marys come in tens. Then you say the Our Father, and then there's different kinds of mysteries, like the sorrowful mystery, which would be said at someone's deathbed. So it's a chant, it's an ancient chant, which I believe before it was changed and Catholicized, I feel it's significant in the in the resurrection process. I feel like it's connected to the right journey of the soul to go to the light, to go to the right place, that it's carried along the sound and the prayer and the words somehow.
And I wonder, because we entered into a patriarchal program along with the church and religions, because I always have this problem with the reason I wrote it in my play was to say our Father, because as I was playing this witch, it was like the witch was like, it ain't our Father, our Mother would be how I started, the Divine Mother, the witch lineage of Mother Mary, Mother, accept. So it always just, even I was doing some protection today before we jumped on, because we're going to go into a past life regression, and I have a feeling it'll be a deep dive. So I was like, right, I'm going to protect that space really well. And a lot of the protection spells I use are God, and I'm standing there changing it to Goddess. Not because I don't believe in a God force, a divinity, but I don't believe in the patriarchal, the father, as being the original source for me. The original source for me is where we all came from.
The mother.
A womb, yeah. I mean, that isn't that science?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
to where we shall return.
Yeah. So you were doing this beautiful. I mean, it sounds so beautiful doing the rosary. I think any prayer in reverence, no matter what the words from the heart is. I mean, what a sacred way to go.
Yeah.
And I feel as well, I had the same sort of knowing. 2 days before my dad passed, I just knew before I was told. And much like you, it's very bizarre. He had terminal cancer, but we didn't know till the day before. And he had suffered from cancer, but he'd been given up the all clear just a few months before. And yeah, I just knew. And unlike calm, I went into grief, a deep grief of this can't be happening. Sort of, I don't want to lose my dad. And it might have been the shock from knowing before I was told that this is what was happening. And because I think on some level I already knew, because I'd been taking care of him, and I've been home at Christmas, and I just, all my gut was like, this isn't right. Even if, and I think that's quite a witchy gift as well, that I think is really important to keep with us, that witchy intuition of the body. And you don't need to show me a chart, you don't need to show me figures, I just look at the man, touch the man, feel the energy, he isn't okay, you know. And I feel so strongly about that. I think that's what my dad really brought out in me, the witch's way, because he was like, I trust you more than you know what you're doing. I mean, even in hospital, it was only when I was massaging his back, he was like, that's the only thing that's given me relief. I put sacred oils on my hands for pain and put it all on his back, because I was like, he needs some care. Yeah. But yeah, I think, yeah, so something extraordinary happened to you, and I can't help it. I know it's happened to me, but I'm still like, Dad, do what Eimear's dad did. But I know life can't pan out like that. But yeah, I'll let you tell it what happened a few days after he passed.
Yeah. So a few days before he passed, he was in hospital, and it was like the final effort to heal him or help him in some way. So my mum got a healer to come see him. And this guy, I can't remember his name, but he's well known for curing people he cured himself from MS and has apparently gone on and cured others. So a very experienced healer that someone had told my mum about. So he came in to the hospital, and I think he was alone with my dad. I can't remember if my mum was there, but I arrived in just at that moment when the healing session had finished. I can't remember why I was there, where I came from, but I arrived in, and the healer didn't look at me. His eyes went down, so I knew something's going on here. He's not really healing him, but he's really helping him. And my dad was just so glowy, like his cheeks were rosy and he was smiling. And yes, you might say he was on morphine, he was on pain medication, and it did make him quite trippy, which we thought was funny, but my mother didn't. But in another way, maybe it was light language, or he was speaking to the spirits that were coming to guide him home. And his only word, he wasn't saying much then, his only word he said was pointing up and saying, resurrection, resurrection. I know. And when I connect with that moment again, he just seemed so at peace, and he knew he was going, and the healer, I feel, really helped him to honor that path that he was taking. There wasn't any resistance, and he knew what was coming next.
Yeah, I want to jump in there because there's a couple of things that came up. I really feel like why our dads were really instigating this talk, because I feel like they really were, and helping me see things. I mean, I've always loved your resurrection story. We've talked about it, and we'll get to when we met in physical, and I was like, oh my God. It's like, this is amazing. And it's so sacred to bring this forward on Easter because of the resurrection, and I feel the long forgotten lineage. But let's see what we get in your past life about that. Yeah, but my dad said to me, because obviously I didn't get a healer in because I am.
You're the healer.
So we got me in, but I didn't know we'd got me in a way, because it was my dad, and it was only the 7 days before that I was like, oh my God, I'm helping my dad cross over. And maybe like your family, up to that point, I'd tried to be the healer that could heal him. And I want to say, I worked with quite a few people that I did a couple of healing circles with yourself and another community. And the year before, we had healed him. My dad came from being told that he wasn't going to survive, to a month later they were operating and they were like, yeah, we're going to fix this. And then we told it was completely clear. I know that's the difficult term with cancer, but all the tests had said. So literally from a healing circle, he'd been healed. And it was quite miraculous, because I was like, what? And then when he was in the hospital the last time, I know you put on a healing circle for me. And I have to say, it was so beautiful and profound. And it felt so full of the witch's craft to me to receive that. I lay at home and it felt like the energy while I was listening. And I was, in a quite a tough place and felt very alone. And I feel now what you all did in that beautiful witches circle wasn't to heal my dad, because that wasn't the path. It was to heal the healer, me, the witch, that I could go in and do the true work. Because after that circle you gifted me, I was strong and I was full of light, and I brought that all in, and I didn't do that before. So that circle, because we never know the soul's plan, the purpose yet, was really to give me this strength to go in and shine my angelic light all over his bed, all over, and to get him that transition. And he did say to me, there was a couple of things that happened, but he did say to me, Cheryl, I wasn't in the hospital last night. And I said, what, Dad? And he said, I wasn't in the hospital last night. I didn't sleep here. I was on this beautiful field. I was on this land, and it was so green, and the rain was coming down at me. I just wasn't here. And he was like, and there was the dog. And I was like, Pepsi. We had a dog that adored him, and he was like, yeah, I wasn't here. Do you believe me? I wasn't here. And I said, and I was like, wow, he's telling me what's going on. And there's so many more strange circumstances, but I just, not strange, interdimensional stuff that I've gone, I'm at home doing the healing work, and then it's happening with you here, and it's beautiful. And I'll talk more about that a bit later on in the series, about the true work that we can do. But I really wanted to say, I'm so grateful. And sometimes I think we can feel as healers, but we didn't fix it. But what you did was different, and it was more phenomenal, because it gave me the gift of helping my dad to the light.
Wow. Amazing. And the energy and the outpouring of prayers and blessings and people doing their own healing for you and your dad globally, it was just, it was immense.
Yeah, it really was.
Immense and powerful. And yes, part of me wanted you to phone the next day to go, he's walking, there's that part. Mm. And that's so beautiful, that realization that it was for you. Of course.
I mean, I didn't know that before that just came out of my mouth, by the way. That was purely channeled. I was like, oh, I get it.
Wow.
Yeah. So talking of profound magic, so your dad passed on.
Yes.
He said resurrection.
He then died, and we were all around his bed, and he went to the light. And then in Ireland, you're buried, like the funeral arrangements happen really quickly within a few days. So we all got to work doing our bit for that. And we were all still living at home. I was in my room, sharing a room with my sister, and I woke up during the night. It was dark, and at the end of my bed, there was my dad, suited and booted, just looking like he was so clear and so human to me that in that moment I realized he's not dead. He hasn't died. This has all been a dream. And then a split second later, I'm like, oh shit, he has died. And he's a spirit, and this is really freaking me out at the end of my bed. I don't think I was actually freaked out. It was just that realization of he's alive. No, he's dead. Oh no, he's a spirit here at the end of my bed. And it really then opened up the grief in me that I'd been keeping in as much as possible I didn't know how to release the grief. But it was like this portal opened that allowed me to sob and cry and realize and feel that loss, that loss of the human father at that time.
And it's funny, because when I heard that story, because I'd gone through a different way of completely losing my nan and being very angry that she didn't come through to me and I didn't feel her around me, because I'd always tapped into sort of spirits. And I felt like, oh, I went down the path of, oh, she's really gone. Like, there is no. And so hearing your story, I was a bit like, what a profound thing. And when we spoke about it, I was like, your father was showing you resurrection, the true. And you were like, it's like it's 3 days later, he comes back and his words were resurrection. I will show you the resurrection. And to me, it was like, this is amazing. But from my perspective, it was from the outside, looking at it spiritually. And from the inside, when you're grieving somebody, it's like you still want them in the physical. So now I kind of understand a bit more how you were like, oh, it's really happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's so beautiful because it's really happened, but it's also confirmation that we are eternal.
Yes. And that he could magic that up to be there and wake me up.
Yeah.
During the night and at the end of my bed. It was just so clear. And it was like he was waking me up to go to his funeral. Like he was ready. Like, come on. it's time. But I hadn't made that connection until you said it to me, that he said the word resurrection, and then he showed me that this is what lies beyond the veil. It's never the end.
Well, that was at your house because we'd had a little, I don't know why we decided to do it, but we brought his picture in. It was like we were having a seance to your dad at the time.
Yeah, just over here on the table.
And
his picture there.
But I felt like he had more to say. So it was like, because I didn't make those things. It was like him. And I was like, oh my God, that's what he wants to remind you what he came through to do all that time ago. And it was just so beautiful. And I feel like that's another thing that I've found, and I'm sure you have the same, about our fathers' true guidance on the mysteries and the resurrection and the witch thing without even realizing it. I mean, I know for me, I was doing a lot of past life clearing with my dad, because I've seen a lot of lives where we were intertwined and not in a good way. Like there was a lot of karma between us, and around the witches and persecution. And I remember my dad saying to me one day, and I was doing all this work and we didn't connect. My dad wasn't a spiritual man. I didn't talk to him about this. But I said something about witches and he just looked at me and he went, hanging's a really horrible way to die, isn't it? He said, I don't know why anyone would do that to someone. And I went, yeah, it's really horrible, Dad. And at the time, I'd been going through a lot of past life release from, I was hung as a witch in a past life. And this is what I was writing my story about. And it'd be like all this stuff was like coming up. And then I remember my dad watching my play. And I'm so grateful he got to watch it. And he was like, I understand witches now. Like, I think you've done a really good thing to get their name and start people talking about who they really were. And it felt so healing. And he was like, I was bringing him herbs and we were connecting over herbs. And I just thought, this is the witch healing. So I wonder what your dad's brought you through the witches, because witches is so big to both of us. And I feel like it's been guided in our bigger soul plan, which our family are part of.
Yeah. Gosh, I wonder what he has brought me. And as I look, the clock is at 1444, 444. He loved numbers.
Yeah.
He's really mathematical.
I feel he's talking to me now. I'm like, okay, well there. He's like, yeah, he wants you to go in. He's bringing you something through. Yeah, bye. Should we talk the other side of it? Because I feel like, he's like, okay, I got it. Bye. So, yeah, let's pick up on all that the other side, because basically we're going to do a past life regression live, which is you're like, yay, one of my favorite things to do in my soul sessions. but also, yeah, I felt like your dad, and through you prodded me. You were like, let's do a regression. And I thought, oh yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. And we're talking about reincarnation, so what better way to go in and see what there is? Did you want any focus, or do you just want your dad to guide it?
Let Dad guide it. Let our Father Art guide it.
Fine, let's guide him where he wants it to go. So, yeah, and because we're doing the heart's purpose and passion, we're going to do a little clearing, and that everyone else can do along with us through the heart's portal, because that's where we're going. But yeah, I won't try and explain it any further. I'm gonna come off video so I don't distract myself. And are you comfortable there?
I am.
Yeah, perfect. So if you just want to close your eyes, and I'm feeling like you might need to be a little bit more grounded.
Always.
Oh, no. I was like, I want to float away. I don't want to be here at the minute. Yeah. And I just ground myself very quickly by stamping my feet a little bit to make that actual connection. Yeah. And we'll go in and we'll anchor you to the earth, as you're an earth angel anyway. I want you to feel into the earth. There's a crystalline core, and I feel that that's kind of our 5D reality. There's like right in the center, and just see yourself really attracted to that. They say it's molten lava rock, which I feel witches connecting with themselves. It's fiery, it's liquid lava, crystals. And pulling that earth-based connection upwards, and taking it with you, some nourishment from the roots of trees. And then opening up your earth star chakra, which is underneath your feet. And feel the energy of that pulsing up into your legs. And nourishing your womb, the center of creation. And clearing any anxiety out of the stomach. Pouring a portal of liquid golden light. And coming up into the heart. And if there's any grief or sadness from life's little knocks, sometimes life's big knocks, just ask that this is cleared out of your heart chakra. And also any technology that blocks the heart and stops the heart from feeling because it's programmed to feel safer. Can we remove all these contracts, these technologies, any anti-human agenda? The heart is the feeling power of the universe. And I ask that it's restored. And the gift of the empath is celebrated. And love returns as the power portal. And so it is. And I just want to quickly protect your crown chakra and clear out the third eye. Any persecution pain here. And putting the black rose crown of protection around your head. And anointing the third eye with liquid gold. And traveling through the heart space, connecting with the heart, that divine frequency. And traveling through the higher heart, which is in front of the chest. And taking this all the way down, traveling all the way through to a sacred land. And once you've got that land you're on, you can let me know where you are.
I feel like I'm on the beach in Shadani Beach, which is where we used to go in Cork.
Okay. And you're following someone, so I want you to tell me who's in front of you, because they're taking you somewhere else.
I don't know, I'm seeing a bird, because I could hear the pigeons.
And where's the bird going?
Into a cave? I've been brought into a cave.
Okay. And how do you feel about yourself in this cave?
It looks dark. Into a dark portal.
And do you want to go into this portal?
If I have to, but not if I don't have to.
Okay. So
I'll stay on the beach.
Yeah. So I want you to feel Dad's support, and just feel where it is. There's heat on part of your body for him to connect with you. So I just want you to feel that.
Yeah, I definitely feel that in my heart.
Yeah. So I want you to make a heart connection with your dad, which is really strong between you both, and ask him where he wants to take you, and ask him if he'll always protect you.
Yes. And just seeing him skimming stones on the beach.
Yeah. He tells me he's waiting for you to say a full-bodied yes.
Yes, I'll go. I can see it's like there's steps opening up in the cave,
Yeah.
going down, like spiral stone steps down. And it looks a bit more lit up. So if he could hold the torch and the flame, then I can follow and see where we're going.
Yeah.
And trust, of course.
Yeah. So I want you to follow that light, his light, that flame, going down those steps. And it's important that you feel those steps, because you are going round in circular motions, like reweaving a DNA. Feel yourself going down and down and down and down. Eventually, he will be showing you a room, a space. And once it comes into your mind's eye, you can let me know.
Yeah, I feel like it's a space I've been before, that it's this empty room, stone room underground. I can really feel my womb space, a lot of energy there. Quite heavy energy.
And what's happening in this space? Have a little look to your right hand side.
It looks like one side's lit up and one side's dark. It's like the right side is dark, not letting me see.
And can you ask your dad to step into the dark and light it up for you?
Yeah, he sweeps around with the torch. Like there's a throne there, like a very elaborate throne.
Yeah.
With red and gold.
And what does it feel like if you go to sit on this throne?
I'm not sure I want to. It's almost like I'm not sure it's mine to sit on. And it's got this gold, like it's like the sun, the rays of the sun inset into, very ornate. But yeah, I can go. It's like it's too big for me.
Yeah. So for a moment, I just want to hold space for a moment just to clear all around your third eye and your crown. And right way back in ancient times, there was a lot of radio wave frequencies, very high technology, that could program, send waves, tell stories, all through the radio wave frequencies. And I want them completely removed from this timeline. Any of the obelisks, dark technology, completely removed. In any way that true heritage was stolen and made any less divine. Be completely taken away. And without this dark matrix, I want you to sit on the throne and feel what it feels like.
Yeah, I'm already seeing wings, golden wings. And I'm climbing up. I feel like a child, like it's like a child would climb up onto a big chair. And I can just see myself like I have little child shoes on.
Yeah.
With my arms out and just feeling the softness.
So ask this magical kid how she's feeling and what she wants to tell you.
It's like she knows this is her throne. And she wants me to sit there too, like to merge into her,
Yeah.
to sit on her, because she's me.
Yeah. And how do you think that you've lost your way to magic?
Oh, I can feel my crown burning because I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy of it. And I question it. I don't trust myself. There's a list.
Yeah. So I want you to look through. I want you to stay seated with her. But she's very adept at timeline, portal jumping, remote viewing, and psychic ability. So this is kind of a part of you that's been closed down. So I want you to travel through your third eye. And I assure you it's one of the biggest witch's wounds there is. So go figure. Traveling down that third eye, I want you to see when this not good enough, I don't deserve the magic, I'm not divine, royal being. When you were first persecuted for this.
I feel I'm seeing the pages of a book, and also I'm going down and it's like stained glass, like it feels ecclesiastical is the word.
Yeah.
The stained glass windows. It's like a tunnel decorated with stained glass windows.
And who are you here?
I've got a bishop. Immediately I see the bishop's hat and the staff.
Yeah, a masculine lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a male bishop.
And just look around for your dad. See if he's there.
I feel like he's dancing around with the torch.
Okay, ask him what he wants to show you in that space. He can help you read the book.
So I'm standing in front of the altar. Yeah, is that him holding the book for me? So he's always by my side. Mm-hmm. He's like the altar boy.
Yeah. So
you never wanted us to be altar boys, girls.
Right. So you're in a position of great power here. And how's that power being used?
Well, I feel like I'm preaching from the altar. This is what I'm trained to do.
Yeah. Feel into your heart. How does that feel about the words?
It's like I'm preaching the word of the Lord, but they're not my words.
Can you feel into the sadness inside of that?
It feels really heavy, like I can hardly keep my hand to my heart. Really heavy. And like my throat chakra's closing up. Yeah. Oof. And like that bishop's hat is weighing me down. Like all this finery and gold and
And do you think at the end of this person's life, this bishop's, they died in a sacred way with faith?
I don't know.
So they're showing me straight away, him in bed, shattered the word, shattered by the teachings, the doctrines, the dogma, and making the only way to make peace with it was to come away from all of that, come away from God, is what he's saying.
Mm.
And
yeah.
Actually, that's a huge dark agenda playing out there, because it keeps a worthy man away from spirit.
Yeah, it feels very cold and barren in the room.
Yeah. And and your dad, who's been jumping beside you, wanting to say to you that you have a platform to speak spiritual truth that's so connected to your heart and to bring immense healing. And he wants you to look through that bishop's eyes of how many people had gathered in that church space. You had a big platform. It's quite a big, repetitive timeline for you, big platforms to speak as masculine men, priests, bishops, religious orders. And your dad saying that's not where you find your faith. He knew it, you knew it. And that's kind of kept your voice small, having those contracts you put in as a soul plan to not honor that kind of dogma I keep hearing.
Yeah.
What I call religious programming. And so I want to just take out any contracts where you swore that you wouldn't be perpetuating this dogma. And know that any teachings that come straight from the heart, the higher heart, are always welcome. And I want to clear out your throat of any stagnant energy. And I want you to stand on that pulpit and speak.
Yeah. Speak for her, the divine feminine. And any wisdom won't be in the book, not yet. Not in those books. It's in the letter of the law, the ancient lore, and the heart. Yeah. It's like I'm just raising my hands, like, oh, like this feeling of freedom. And that knowing of why I had to step away from the church in this life again. Yeah. And yet recognize the aspects that can still serve me from my upbringing, from what I've learned. Yeah.
It's Christian Gnosticism. Isn't that far away from religion? But it's all about the truth being within, and the sacred Sophia, Divine Mother. So could it be, when I'm going down another portal and seeing what's buried before you, that you spent some time burying Gnostic texts and scrolls, and that the most beautiful, powerful thing you can do for the magical kid inside on the throne is to bring back that truth and keep rewriting history.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of them, like that whole.
Yeah, I'm being shown, and this is your soul Akashic I'm seeing now, is like a circle open up around you. And it's a lot of different multi-dimensional timelines that we're all going to tie up. And it's like they're all pulling your attention to like northeast, southwest, but then there's more portals, and they're all leading back to the sacred center of the circle, which is you. And I want you to turn to whichever part of the circle is most calling at this time, knowing that you don't have to have all the answers right now. But take a scroll from the part of the circle you most want to go to, because there's a little bit of wisdom in it for you for today.
I immediately go east. Mm. Riley agrees.
And what's there in the east for you?
Well, it feels very bright and golden.
Yeah.
Like gold nuggets. Yep.
Oh, wow. And I'm being told.
What's that?
I'm being told that on that scroll is magic is the key. And for some reason, there's a part of your magic you've not quite unlocked because of the religious programming, that this magic was a sin. Oh. And they are circling in my ear as necromancer, necromancer, necromancer.
Wow.
And a necromancer is those that speak to the dead. And religion had a really big problem with this, because they say you conjure evil spirits.
Sorry. Right.
Wow.
It's our friendly postman. Sorry. It's our friendly postman.
Well,
going crazy.
Wow. There's more
evil spirits. And I was seeing as well, don't know if you've seen in church where they use the incense, and it's in this, it is like a heart-shaped container that they burn the sacred incense.
Yeah.
And I saw myself doing that, and then when you said circle, it was like I was clearing the circle.
Wow.
Sorry about that noise.
There's something in that timeline to be cleared out when Riley was mental about the evil spirits. So what I feel like is that you did actually know how the church conjured evil spirits. That actually, because, yeah, this is very true, because it's always in biblical texts and everything about warning, warning, warning. And we've spoken a little bit before about King James, and that he had a heritage of sort of witch history, but at the same time, there's a lot of royals throughout our history, throughout entirely, that have been involved with what is quite darker forces, darker energy.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this lifetime as the bishop, you would actually witness that. So there was a big tear in the heart of both trying to have faith in something, but the faith doesn't answer it. The faith's not true. But then the other side of it is still being a protector for the people, because you can see that people are conjuring demons, so it needs to be put in check. And that there's quite a wrestle for you in that. And somehow that's left the wounding of not wanting to conjure up the wrong dead, which I've never seen before, that actually, a lot of witches are natural mediums because they're tapped into supernatural ability. But if there's that extra wounding of conjuring up the wrong dead and having no support, I mean, a lot of the work that I do is working with darker forces and clearing them, but actually we need that support, that protection.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to just do one quick clearing around your crown and your third eye, because your head's feeling heavy. And because I think Riley brought us out, and he did, he stamp pointed at an important moment.
Amazing.
Supernatural soul.
Yeah, my daughter's let him out. Yeah.
But I feel like we need to just quickly clear your mind of any resonance. So just releasing any religious programming. Anything sacred is always connected with the heart. And actually, one of the greatest teaching of witches is how to navigate spiritual rescue. And spiritual rescue means you can dance around in the fourth dimension, in the astral realm, where there's a multitude of different kind of spirits and demons and entities. And there's a multitude of loved ones who are trapped or higher consciousnesses, all mixed in the spiritual realm there. And actually, your true magic is knowing how to fine-tune your instincts and know exactly what energy or frequency any soul that comes to you is, and any entity that comes to you is. And from that place, that little girl on that throne is absolutely dancing. And so we're breaking any shackles and bonds to any religious programming that doesn't serve. Having Archangel Michael overlight and cut those away. Having the beautiful divine Sophia, higher light, blast through your crown, through your heart, right into the higher light portal, the ley lines of the earth. And I'm going to bring you up those steps, out, up and up and up onto the most sacred land. And asking that when it's ready in the next few days, that all of this higher wisdom comes back and is reclaimed in your mind, in your body, in your spirit. And giving so much love and reverence and respect for your dad, who continues to support you on this witch's journey. And when you're ready and bathed in that beautiful golden light, you can stretch your hands and come back into the space.
So interesting. I was brought back then to Timoleague Abbey, which is, my dad was from Timoleague, but the Abbey was a school of philosophy and a monastic place. So that's interesting. It's a ruin now.
Wow.
But I went back there at the end, and it was like dancing with the light, dancing with the dark. It was like everyone was dancing, but this incense seemed really important as a way of protection.
Wow. So you have a protection spell then?
Yeah.
Which is really important to use, because it's one of your sacred, I mean, they cross over so much, don't they? Like religion and Gnosticism and spirituality. And if you can take all the nuggets from each stream, then it really is like quite beautiful. But it is, a lot of it is man-made. And if you take out all the man-made aspects and keep to the spiritual, the soul aspects of each thing, and your soul is like, well, this is how we clear space. This is how we sacredly protect. This is what we do. This is what I taught you. You taught a long time ago.
Yeah, I always hated the smell of that, but I can put my own rose herbs in.
Yeah, I'm working a lot with white rose, the heart, and the unconditional love. and I just smell it. I've got it on today. Oh, it's been, I mean, I put white roses on my dad's coffin as well. It's just it's the smell of heaven to me. It's the smell of love. So you might want to change it to the white rose. And it's also a very sacred oil. It's been taken a lot throughout the ages and hidden away. The white rose.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Did not expect to go there.
No.
I expected Egypt in one way.
I know. I expected Egypt in one way. And in some way, that's why when your circle opened up, I said, don't try and get it all at once, because you're very multidimensional, like myself. When we go into past life, sometimes we want to go into quite a few. And it feels like there's so many opening up and rippling up, but you're just like, these are all elements of your story. And you are, I feel like that'd be a lovely place to end. You are currently writing your witch's story.
I am.
So, yeah, tell me a little bit about that. Your dad's cheering, and you know he kind of wanted you to do this book. It actually came through, didn't it, when we were working with your dad? He was like, "You've got a book to write." And
from the heart.
Yeah, tell me about what it is and why you want to write it. Why?
Yeah. Well, I have to say you've been a huge support in this, through sessions with you, to really support the direction of it. But it really is about my witch awakening journey, but also my journey from stepping out of corporate and the witch hunts I've experienced, and also in this life, but in bringing in past life regressions like this one that I've experienced. So it's ties in with the summits that have organically happened, working on the 5th summit now, which will go in the book. So it's very connected to the story of feminine.
It's called...
I'll reveal that another time, will I? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I like to kind of keep it.
Okay. But the impetus for that
it's about the Magdalene witches.
Yeah.
Okay, the Golden Grail, the rise of the Magdalene witches is the name that has come through. So it's reclaiming our purest gold and connecting with the voice of the Magdalene witches. Not sisters, they are the witches.
Yeah, that's important to you. And isn't that funny, because it's the golden lineage and you've just been rethroned again.
Yeah.
And I find it funny, not funny, that it's very much, and I think this is a very, very prominent witch wound through the persecution, that it's actually the true golden light workers are the ones that are apprehensive about getting back on the throne. And I feel that it can be through this life. I know things add up in this life, I'm not saying that, but it's very much, to me, it's down the lineage of that persecution. And it might not just be male, like you, or female, like today's shown a lot of male stuff. It can be a lot of female stuff. I'm sure, don't know how many witch lifetimes you've been persecuted, but I know I've got about 3 or 4 in my back catalogue for doing spiritual work. And I think that is so important. If anyone can take away from that it actually is those people that need to reclaim the throne, because our world's a mess because it isn't led by sacred leadership. And I think that's another thing that you're very passionate about.
Yeah. Feminine leadership, circular leadership, witches leadership. So it's exploring all of that in a very sacred, poetic, but also day-to-day life. Like, that's the first chapter of where it's the effing leadership came to me, sweeping the floor. And that was before my witch awakening, but the sweeping the floor, I was sweeping with a broom. The witch sweeping the floor, and she doesn't yet know it yet.
And what circular leadership? Because it feels like that's what you've done throughout summits, but what is that?
Yeah. So I really connect with the Celtic medicine wheel, the witch's wheel. And what I feel is that each of the witches are archetypes and energies that we bring to our leadership. So it's not a hierarchy, it's a circle where we all come together around the round table. And actually, I brought this into corporate work I was doing, but rather than using witches' names, I was bringing in like the coach or the performer or the storyteller, like bringing it in that kind of language. Yeah. So that's what I see circular leadership, that there isn't one leader on top of the hierarchy. We're all leaders together, and we step into the center of the circle when we're ready to share our part of the craft. Something like that.
Yeah, and that is so profound to me, because today I saw you in the center of the circle, and I said it's not going to come through all like, you're going to have to keep turning those corners of the wheel, the north, east, south, west, and you're in the east, but it's like circular fashion. Then you're going to land in the middle, and then your story will be out, and it'll be passing that thread, activating, awakening the rest of the tribe.
And the center is our place of power, where we have that view of all. That's gorgeous. Wow. And I saw there was so much gold there as well in the east. It was really bright, really bright.
Yeah, like the light you are. So I want to say in conclusion, thank you for the work you do. I come to your Witches Circle and been part of it for, what is it, a year now? Maybe a year? We're on our second year.
Yeah. Maybe 2 years, yeah.
Oh God, yeah, I wondered that. And I love the work you do. I love what you bring to witches. I love what you're going to bring out more. Very excited about the summit. Very excited about your book, and also what your dad has gifted through about being the true reincarnation for what happened, and also that reminder that I was connecting with my dad before he passed, and still doing it now through regressions. If I want to go to sacred space, and I have a deep soul history with my dad, like you do yours, and that it's another blessing to people if they're trying to navigate grief spiritually, that we have a soul family, and we will keep linking back until we've learned those lessons. And then once we've learnt the lessons, we'll come back and be their earth angels and their master soul and their guides. And
amazing.
It's a really nice Magdalene thought to hold in your heart on an Easter Sunday, I feel.
And that's part of a little rhyme that came through as part of the summit, is that we made a pact with teachings intact. Now we share them, or something like that.
For this summit, you've got
yeah, it was that pact that we would come back with the teachings and share them.
Wow.
And that's really important, the sharing aspect now, because I know for me, it was and has been, it can be scary, sharing. And we know now, we know why. Let's clear our past lives and free ourselves to share now.
Yeah. Now is the time.
Now is the time.
Your witches rise up. I might have to end with that. You have to send it over so I can just boom. That's what's going in my ear. I'm like, yeah.
I get Riley howling along with it.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
And thank you so much, and all the work the sacred, deep work you do, and to your dad as well, and how you are doing this series it's so beautiful and powerful, and will help so many people.
Yeah, and I honestly wouldn't have done it if Dad didn't give me a kick. It was like I could have either gone into why the hell is the system so bad and all the witchy problems I have with current medicine and the current paradigm, or I could go into, well, let's birth a new earth with what we are doing and what we can help with. And yeah, so this was about being medicine to the world that we really need, and I know I do. So yeah, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and thank you, Art. Thank you, Cheryl. and the Cailleach and the witches.
Yeah, no, none of them. Thank you so much.
That's amazing.